a sound guy, and Bill Stefanacci is a
should be
sound guy. He's a cool homie that I work with in the film industry. By the way, he's got a surfing documentary that he was showing in a watch party not too long ago, because we're all in quarantine and people in the industry are completely screwed right now because there's not a lot of good productions being made, and social distancing right now is really, really, really difficult to do, because you think about all the stuff that goes into a film production. There's a lot of close personal stuff that happens in a film production. And, I know that Bill, my buddy Bill, he's been having to deal with this, and we work together a lot in reality television. And, like trying to get in a film set that has 20 or 30 people, or in a reality TV show, you're still talking about like 9 or 10 people getting in close personal contact with a lot of strangers. And in the audio world, I got booked to do a shoot for some small film the other day, and it was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to boom it only. I'm not going to use lav mics on anybody, because I don't want to get up in someone's face and run a cable down their shirt and hide it in their britches. Like, no, I'm not going to be doing that right now. And it was just really uncomfortable and really awkward. And so a lot of production companies are totally shut down right now, are trying to do contactless filming, which is hard. It's super hard. And you just can't do it. Why is my watch party being stupid?
Did it reload?
I'm trying to get it to reload. Everything's wacky. Jake, you say things.
Say things.
You say things.
Yeah, I feel like that's like one of those like real like thug things from like the early thousands or like late 90s movies. Like, say things.
You gotta say things now.
All right. Well, I mean, you want to talk about social distancing? How about that? Those reunions that Josh Gad's been doing on Zoom, huh?
Those are
bringing in
whack.
all these people. So, you good talk guy. Yeah, that's me right there. But I was checking out earlier that they did a Back to the Future nearly complete reunion there. They had Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox and Leah Thompson, Bob Gale, and Robert Zemeckis with Alan Silvestri. So they had a big group of the cast. They did not have the actors that played, friggin' George McFly or Biff. But they did have Mary Steenburgen was in with it too.
Oh, she is wonderful to work with. I have worked with her before, and she's great.
She's from Arkansas.
She's from Arkansas.
And she's married to Ted Danson. No Billy Zane. Vern, I was going to say something about that too, because Billy Zane, I mean, he was the Shadow, man. Or he wasn't the Shadow. He was
the Phantom.
The Phantom, yeah. And he was the coolest dude in all of Zoolander, but then he was an evil doucher man in Titanic. Billy Zane has range. He can do it all while being the most handsome boy.
I just went ahead and suggested the new live video into your watch party because you can retroactively.
I tried and I couldn't do it, so I killed my watch party.
Okay.
Even though there was a lot of people watching.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan, Crispin Glover, and Tom Wilson. I could remember Crispin Glover's name. I couldn't remember Tom Wilson's last name, so I wasn't going to go for all of it. But apparently they did some scene recreations and red lines and all that. But then my arch nemesis, J.J. Abrams, was also there. I can't stand that guy.
You don't like J.J. Abrams.
If you've ever watched the show, you know that I hate J.J. Abrams.
You most certainly don't like J.J. Abrams.
That's because of Star Wars and Star Trek, man. You know
what about Cloverfield?
Yeah, Cloverfield was fine.
What about Lost?
Yeah, not my jam.
Dude, the first season of Lost. Get out of here with your dumb butt opinions. You don't know about nothing.
So, Dylan, it wasn't that Crispin Glover didn't get to play George in parts 2 and 3. It's that Crispin Glover is almost always in the way of Crispin Glover and his need to be a weird
He's a weirdo.
off the walls person often puts him in not great positions as far as like a career goes. I've read and seen multiple things about how he was very difficult in Charlie's Angels. What was the movie about the boy with all the rats and everything?
Willard.
Yeah. Just anything Crispin Glover's in is he makes it terrible. But that's why in Back to the Future Part 2, they just had him hanging upside down all the time, so his hair was covering his face and he was upside down, so it'd be hard for you to tell that it was him.
I mean, whatever works, right?
Court case doesn't mean anything, Johnny. That's just how the law sees it. You know what I'm saying?
The law. Speaking of the
He
law,
was in Hot Tub Time Machine. He was the elevator guy that kept getting just like his hand chopped off. How about that?
I don't remember that one. Of all the things,
He was like a running gag in the movie.
Well, let's see. Other things that I wanted to talk about before we got done with this show. Sorry that technical difficulty got me so derailed here in my brain. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but in South Korea, they have been testing contact-free movie theaters, which is kind of pretty amazing. They are talking about they've got AI robots, automated kiosks, LED controlled food delivery boxes, all of this insane like technology, which is only going to put theaters even more in debt after they invested all this money in opening restaurants and bars and reclining seating into these theaters. And now it's like, now we have to have Roombas bringing you popcorn or whatever. But how insane is all of this? Like, just
I mean, it all just sounds so like, why weren't we doing that in the first place?
because it's expensive and unnecessary.
Yeah, but so is human interaction.
It's expensive and unnecessary?
It's taxing. It's energy expensive.
That's because you're antisocial.
Yeah, these robots that are going to end up,
Skynet.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to want that type of human interaction, even though it's coming from a robot.
I mean, you need people.
Hence the sex bots.
That's right.
Yeah, Jake.
Real dolls.
What?
You want to interact, but maybe you just don't want it to be a person. Let's see. Johnny Dalton says, I'll stick to my Planters cheese balls when the theaters opens. Yeah, people are going to be smuggling in snacks like never before. Vince says, in Walgreens, they have one-way aisles, and the checker looks like she's working at a check cashing place in the city. Yeah, with the bars on the window, and it's just like slide it under the metal, and just oof. Vern says, Jake, you're the biggest introvert I know. # freaked out. Is that like an inside joke?
I think it's like freak out.
Freak out. Oh, freak.
Freak out. Yeah.
There's a with a T.
Hey, man, it's okay to be introvert because that means that I watch more movies.
I mean, that's true. Most of my youth was spent being a major introvert watching movies. That's kind of the precursor of the drive-in Speakerbox, was the fact that I spent so much of my childhood and teenage years and early 20s just watching tons of films. It is one of those things that you either do or you don't. And when people are like, I really like movies, I'm such a movie buff, and they're like, well, tell me about your movie taste. Well, I like the Marvel movies a whole lot and Star Wars. And it's like, okay, well,
Well, that's like when I was a kid. If you couldn't talk to me about Howard the Duck or Flash Gordon in detail, we probably weren't going to be cool.
I think that's actually how we became friends. Was like nerding out in detail over some minutia of some dumbass movie that was on the screen at the bar, and you're like, "Oh, does anybody know this movie?" And I'm like, "Duh, do you even know this movie?" And and then we started arguing with dumb randos about things that we know in the movies. I was like, "Hey, you want to come on the show that I co-host?" And you're like, "I guess."
I don't think that's exactly how it happened, but
I mean, that's the abridged
like in
version.
in like the in the movie version of our lives when we sign our story to some studio, like that's how they'll make it happen.
Are we gonna get a Wayne's World style movie?
Yeah, I was thinking like what was the Queen movie where it's like not really how it went down
But
at
way
all,
more badass.
but like people will just throw money at it anyhow. Yeah.
Johnny Dalton says he finally saw Dr. Sleep this weekend. It was a well-written apology for Kubrick's version of The Shining. I agree. I haven't seen the extended cut that apparently is floating around out there that's got like an extra 45 minutes of footage. But I thought that they blended the two sort of, Kubrick's visual style and his edits with the novel version. I think they kind of married them in a really tasteful way, and it looks like Vern agrees. Kubrick's adaptation was freaking awesome, and this new one, Kubrick didn't need to apologize. Yeah, Kubrick's version was dank.
I wonder how many movies like that would have done better right now with the at-home premieres than they did at the theater when there was more choices around, kind of a thing where people would be like, oh, you know what, I like The Shining, or like, hey, I kind of want something creepy, and I know about that. You think it would have had better numbers than it did in the movie theater when it was put up against other options and like time being a factor in that?
That's entirely possible.
How about that?
I haven't even thought about that. Going in the comments here, Merle in the comments over on YouTube, joining us on YouTube. He says, me and a buddy were talking about time travel movies yesterday, and I mentioned Primer, but is it? Yes, Primer's totally a time travel movie. It's about the discovery of time travel. It's not necessarily about traveling through time and going, oh, my mom's trying to get in my underwear, and isn't that wacky?
Dude,
and
I just watched Back to the Future like 2 nights ago.
It's weird. But, Primer, if you've not seen Primer is a super dope movie that was shot on an incredibly, incredibly low budget. It's a really, really cool piece of science fiction that, early 2000s science fiction, pretty cool. It's on most streaming services, I think, but one of those kind of totally underrated movies that I highly recommend. And yes, totally classifies as a time travel movie, I would say. Johnny Dalton likes Time Rider. Of course you would like Time Rider. Going in the comments, let's see.
For some reason, this reminds me, there's a time travel movie that I often forget that not enough people have probably seen. It's a Japanese movie, and it has Sonny Chiba, and he's like a military guy, and they're doing training exercises on a beach, and they get transported back into like Sengoku, Japan, but they have like their tank and their like half track and their military, like all of their guns and fatigues and stuff. It's kind of a super cool movie.
I do love me some Sonny Chiba.
Yeah, and I can't remember what it's called.
I can't either.
That's if you want to watch weird off-the-wall time travel movies that not a lot of people have seen, and going back to that, like, hey,
Free Jack.
If you don't know about weird movies.
I don't know if Free Jack even counts as a time travel movie. It's kind of like pulling people out of the past. I think it's time travel, like Mick Jagger pulling people right before they die into an alternate timeline thing and making them slaves. Right. Dude, have you never seen Free Jack?
No, but does Mick Jagger just like come up and like do like his like Jagger dance?
Pretty much.
He's like,
to
stop me up. And then like grabs
to Emilio Estevez. Mm-hmm. Like he basically. Yeah, Free Jack's pretty weird. There's a lot of weird time travel movies out there.
G.I. Samurai. Thanks, Vern. That's its English title.
Hey, man.
There we go.
Look at Vern coming in strong. Let's see. Vince says, never noticed the Austin Powers button until the latest Jake camera angle. Dude, there's a lot of weird stuff.
There's a bunch of good stuff back here.
If you're just listening to the audio version of this podcast, do yourself a favor and watch us live. And right now, since everything's so much more freeform with the format of our show because there's not new movies coming out for us to discuss. It's actually been a lot of fun having this kind of fireside chat with everybody that's tuning in. But our on the visuals, you can Facebook.com/The Drive-In Speakerbox or YouTube.com/The Drive-In Speakerbox, where we can actually see your comments. That watch party stuff is complicated and it makes things confusing. But behind us, the Drive-In Speakerbox set here, there are a lot of little bric-a-bracies of weird movie memorabilia.
That makes me wish I could find my Austin Powers talking animated watch from when I was a kid that I used to get in trouble at school for because the alarm would go off and it was always just Austin Powers screaming. I thought it was the coolest thing.
That was your screen or your alarm?
Yeah, well, yeah. So it was like an animated watch, like a Gigapet, But it was just Austin Powers, and it was like
Trying to have sex with you, baby.
No.
I mean, but that's what he did, right?
Yeah, he would say like groovy or like
Shagadelic.
Yeah.
That means that he wants to do it. That's shagging he's just like, shagadelic, baby.
Yeah.
And he's like, Jake, wake up with that wood, baby. Shagadelic. Or I don't know why he's Australian all of a sudden. But yeah, that's weird. Carl says these have been some of his most favorite episodes, which thanks, man. These are weird for us, but it's weird not having a structure, but we're gonna do it. Merle says, looking at you through the wine glass full of whiskey, loving the set. Thanks for tuning in. I mean, we didn't bring any whiskey. We were drinking sake here earlier, but my glass is empty, or my plastic, recyclable cup is empty. Johnny Dalton says, I normally watch all on my phone, but he's at home and unemployed watching on the PC, large screen. So Johnny Dalton, we are so sorry to hear about your loss of the job due to the closures.
Sure. Yeah.
But we're happy that you get to join us for the whole show. I mean, both of us have been severely impacted by all of this insane stuff.
Yeah.
But that's where movies come in and help. So there you go. Vince says it's 3:00. Your mother's a man, baby.
He's trying to like rip the wig off of her and just like,
man, baby.
but it's not. Turns out she's not. Those are good movies,
Speaking
man.
of Mike Myers movies, So I Married an Axe Murderer is a very underrated Michael Myers. Shut your face with that look. So I Married an Axe Murderer is a good movie,
Wow.
and I stand behind it. I stand behind it.
I don't know about that. Good movie is going a bit far on that one.
It is an entertaining film that I enjoy. Let's see. We received 100 messages in the Restream chat. Yay. Let's see. Johnny Dalton buzzed on Guinness. Merle says, don't forget about Time Chasers. Love finding a movie through MST3K and then rewatching it without the riffing. Yes, that is a really good way to discover obscure B movies. And they're actually, obscure B movies are really easy to find now because a lot of them are out there on the internet. I used to have to jump through so many hoops to get them.
You know what, too? The 80s horror documentary that came out last year that I got, it's like a 4-hour-long documentary. It goes through every single horror movie released from 80 to nearly 90. They have a sci-fi version of that you can get on the front of right now. 80s sci-fi doc. It's called In Search of Tomorrow, whereas the horror one was called In Search of Darkness, which actually is one of the things that we have in the background here. A little deal for that. But it'll likely do the same thing where it goes through every sci-fi movie of the 80s, including a lot of weird, obscure ones that you're like, oh, I've never heard of that. And you'll see big stars of the industry going through talking about them and everything like that. The horror documentary is really good because you have people like the actors and directors that did movies like Friday the 13th, Elvira, American Werewolf in London, just any kind of horror movie you could think of, VHS chest insertions, and they go through all of these movies, so you can find a bunch of not the lowest grade, but not the highest grade either, just
medium grade,
right in there, fun, entertaining, movies through watching things like that. Go like something that's meant for you to learn about those.
Let's go in through the comments. Johnny Dalton says he just noticed the old CRT in the background, even though he's been watching for. We have 3 CRTs. We got this one up here.
Yeah, what you can't see over there is that we have the Freddy Krueger figure
standing in front of
the TV,
it,
which is fun.
And then over here we got 2. We got a CRT on the shelf. And Jake, move your head. Like there's one right there too. And he says he also has the same Slimer doll. Are you talking about that one, or are you talking about this one? Whoa! Get some hot dogs in there.
Somewhere back here.
Did he never notice that? Or
somewhere back there
cams?
is my pin that has a Slimer on the pin cap too.
So Merle says, anyone got any Sony PVMs laying around? I don't have any of that, but I do have a Sony Watchman. You ever see, speaking about more little TVs?
Oh, damn. That's another thing I wish I could find is my Talkman we could have in the background there. before it goes away, Johnny said that Lloyd Kaufman's going to be on Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In
Oh,
this
yes,
week.
that's right. If you
You're
don't
gonna
have
have-
Shudder, get at it.
Dude, Lloyd Kaufman and Joe Bob Briggs on the same show. For those of you that don't know, Lloyd Kaufman is the man responsible for Trauma. If you don't know about Trauma, good for you.
you did it. Another
That's something you can Wikipedia to just find a bunch of weird, obscure movies that you'll never have anyone to talk to about, and even if you find them, they won't want to.
and you won't want to talk to
and
them
you won't
either.
want to either.
Yeah, you're like, ooh.
but it does have Toxic Avenger.
Toxic
Hey, that's fun.
and Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, and Cannibal the musical, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. So.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, before I forget it, and it was in the comments bottom of that. Thank you for
Check on it.
thank you for mentioning that, because we don't always, a lot of that stuff's so automated that we don't always check on it every week, but we will check on that. So the audio podcast version of this will be updated, hopefully. Let's see. Vern says, random question: have you seen The Fabulous World of Jules Verne, 1958? I've been trying to find an English subversion. I haven't seen or even thought of that movie in years, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and I don't know if I've got an English subversion of that, but I might know where to find one.
You know what? That reminds me of, too, another way to find movies, just to keep on this whole, like, how do you find movies that are obscure and weird and people might not know about them? Just watch TCM. Turn on TCM and watch it, and you'll be surprised at how good a movie is, especially if you read the description and you're like, I don't know about that. And then you watch it and you're like, actually, this is really good. There's a lot of them, and they don't just show movies in English. I don't know if that's going to persuade or dissuade you, but they do have international movies on TCM a lot as well. They generally will show original black and white, but sometimes they will show the Turner colorized films, and you usually get commentary before and after the movie with interesting tidbits to know going in and to think about coming out of, and that makes it where TCM is extremely and endlessly entertaining because it is 24/7 commercial free.
And here in the comments from YouTube, Johnny Dalton and Dylan are saying Tubi and Letterbox app are both pretty good, and they are not incorrect.
That reminds me that last week I wanted to talk about it and forgot. I know that I said that I would not get Quibi, but that was before.
You got Quibi?
No, not yet, but I'm thinking about it, and that was what I wanted to share with all of you, is because that was before I found out that Reno 911
Is on
is
Quibi.
back, and it's on Quibi, and they have
Quibi.
new episodes every day.
What?
Yeah. So what I imagine before I get the free trial and find out is that, you know how the Reno 911 format was in like anthology style, where it was like little stories of each of them here and there split between in the episode. I imagine it's just little short bits, but instead of putting 4 or 5 of them together for a full TV episode, you just get one each for the Quibi.
Yeah, Vince says episodes are like 5 minutes long.
Yeah, like 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah.
Vince also asks from the comments section, he says, why is one of our lava lamps free-flowing and the other one is just a blob on the bottom? Well, as a former employee of Spencer's Gifts in my teenage years, I'm the first and foremost expert in lava lamp technology. I used to repair these things, and I have an arsenal of lava lamps. And the problem with lava lamps, there are a lot of factors in lava lamp science that go into what makes a good flowing lava lamp. Sometimes it's the age. Sometimes it's if you have ever shaken or dropped a hot lava lamp and the oil and wax have managed to get a lot of air and things intermingled inside them, so it doesn't gel as hard, and sometimes that you can never survive that sort of damage. Another problem is the wattage of the bulbs. Bulbs are actually getting incredibly hard to find for lava lamps. Normally, it takes a 40-watt appliance bulb that is frosted. You don't want to use a clear one, but 40 watts is important. And sometimes if one is not getting as hot as the other, or there's a wattage, you're using a different bulb, but the bulb itself is wearing out and it's not getting as hot, it won't bubble as much. So there you go. One of these probably has an older bulb that needs to be replaced, but a lot of these newer bulbs are not being manufactured to the same long-lasting specs. I have another one at my house. It's one of the big daddies, and I swear to God, that thing burns a bulb out about every 2 months. And, like this one over here that's going strong, pretty sure that's the same bulb I've had in it since 1998. And it is just ticking along. But, lava lamps, weird stuff. Vern's like, more about lava lamps.
You know what, though? Hey, getting back to movies and finding weird things and subscription services, Dylan said that he just subscribed to the Criterion channel.
Oh, Man Bites, dog. I love that movie.
And he's asking what else he should watch on there. I imagine Criterion channel has everything on the Criterion collection. So
like RoboCop?
Watch everything Akira Kurosawa that you can.
All the Akira Kurosawa Criterions are great.
Anything Kurosawa, watch it.
But hey, man, the Man Bites Dog is actually a really, really awesome French film. It's kind of a mockumentary about this documentary film crew that follows this French assassin who he's not really he's more of a hitman that goes around just killing people to make a living. It's kind of a super dark comedy. Really, really good film. If you're into dark comedies, like the scene where he kills that old lady to save a bullet by just scaring her and giving her a heart attack, really good movie. Dylan, glad you watched that movie. That's a good one.
Well, if there are Kurosawa movies on there, and I know Vince just said that it kind of comes and goes on there with what the lineup is. One of the Kurosawa Criterion movies is Stray Dog, starring Toshiro Mifune as a hard-nosed cop in Tokyo.
That is a good one.
That's a pretty good movie.
Because Toshiro Mifune, that's all you needed to say, And Johnny says Son-in-Law should just be in the Criterion for the I mean, why not?
Son-in-Law is almost a perfect movie.
Almost. I mean, hey, can we just give a shout out again to the Weasel? I know that he is an underrepresented hero of Hollywood, but Pauly Shore, man, still out there, still making people laugh. Here's this one's to Pauly Shore. And John says, hi, YouTube. Hello, right back at you.
Hey, you know what, man? While we're talking about Pauly Shore, famous comedic parents and offspring, before we get too far away from it, Jerry Stiller, man.
Oh, I know. Way to bring down the mood.
Sorry, bro. It was like a lead in there.
No.
But
gotta pour one out for Jerry Stiller.
Yeah.
A lot of people know him as
George Costanza's
dad, but he has been in show business for, I don't know, pretty much the entirety of show business. 92 years old. And just right up until he was pretty much kaput, this dude has been making people laugh. He's been a comedian for, I think, as long as comedy's been on film. And pretty sad day to lose old Jerry Stiller. So I think this December, when Festivus is upon us, we all need to celebrate with Jerry Stiller.
Yeah, go out and buy a bro.
Yes, go get a bro, and let's go air our grievances.
What was the other thing? The cult type thing that he would like scream it to like calm down. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. He had such a good angry scream.
Johnny, Ben Stiller is the one that reported his death, and he said that it was of natural causes.
Yeah, I mean, he was 92.
You know who else passed while we were away this last week? Serenity Now. That's it.
Serenity Now. Serenity Now.
Yeah, thank you. You know who else passed, though? Little Richard, man. Another...
I know.
From time to time
tickling those ivories in the sky
star.
now. Yeah, Little Richard been around. Yeah, he did a lot. One of the first musicians to really do a lot of Hollywood crossovers because he loved being on camera. And I forgot about that. That was already earlier in the week, man. Mm-hmm. Tough stuff, dude. And yeah, there'd be no Prince without Little Richard. There'd be a lot of things without Little Richard. He was a big Richard to me. Yeah. And Johnny Dalton says he was on the Pee Wee Herman Christmas special. Yes, he was. He was on a lot of things.
Yeah, he was in a lot of. He'd make weird cameos in movies and TV shows, and sometimes not so weird cameos. Like he'd be a big, crucial part of those things. So
he did.
Yeah.
Shout outs to the people out there that are getting old and, leaving legacies behind. And shout out to all the people that, I know I don't want this to take a super dark turn that we have had to lose with all of this closures and COVID and virus and stuff. This stuff is real. It's serious. I know we're starting to get on this reopen path, but I just spent an hour earlier on my personal Facebook talking about how, we need to be respectful. We need to be understanding. We need to be cautious. Just because we're tired of this and we're bored of being inside doesn't mean that all this shit has gone away. So, when we try to get these things opened up, because we're going to need movies, we're going to need people out there on the ground, we're going to need all this stuff that we've called unessential for a long time, because now we realize that we're going crazy and it's essential. So shout outs to everybody out there that is being affected by this in whatever industry you are in, because it is important. You are important.
You know what?
What?
Talking about playing the piano and famous people and staying indoors. I know you've never watched it, but for anyone out there that did watch How I Met Your Mother and all the stars that came from it, or for all of you Marvel Cinematic Universe fans out there that only find out about things if Disney shoves it down your throat, Robin Sparkles, a.k.a. Colby Smulders, the actress, released a video of her singing a new version of Let's Go to the Mall about COVID. So that's out there for all of you to enjoy there. And since you said something about industry, you know what we did not talk about yet?
What did we not talk about yet?
Amazon out there trying to take advantage of COVID and purchase up some movie theaters.
Man, this news, guys, this is something that I talked about years ago on the Drive-In Speakerbox, where Amazon wanted to start buying up movie theaters. And you think about it, it's like that's going to violate some antitrust, because they also wanted to start a production company, which they've already done, and they're making their own movies, and they're blah, 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 blah. But Amazon wants to buy AMC, because AMC is in a very weakened condition right now with their stock is not doing very well.
To the point that when they announced that Amazon was looking to buy AMC theaters, their stock prices went up 30%, which raised it to $550 million company worth, which is very low.
It's very low.
For a company that big. Amazon's worth $1 trillion or more, so purchasing a $550 million company is like nothing to them.
So as Dylan says, doesn't Netflix already own a theater in LA? Yes, and one of the reasons they did this is because that's a loophole that they could get to get stuff nominated for Academy Awards.
A theater, though. You're talking a theater in the nation's largest chain.
Yeah, AMC. And so what this does mean is, Amazon could essentially hold the reins to production and distribution and VOD of your movies. So it's like, okay, well, a movie could come out in theaters and also on streaming at the same time, and they don't care because it's their streaming network you're getting to pay for.
And now you won't have
theater.
Yeah, you won't have AMC stepping up and being the first one, like with the Universal, being like, hey, not cool, because instead they'd be owned by Amazon, who has Amazon Studios and is more than happy to put it in theaters and on streaming wherever people will watch it. Yeah, that could be...
it could be devastating. Because, so just for perspective, before COVID hit, I follow movie stocks as well. Before COVID hit, AMC stocks was sitting at about $15 a share, and then it dropped to about $2.16 a share back in March. That's a monstrous plummet per share. Now, after this announcement, it's about at $5 a share, but still, those shares that hasn't split or anything, so there's not more shares. So that company is super, super devalued, and that's where Amazon's looking to swoop in and scoop this thing up at a super low price. Yeah, Mark says, will they rebrand as AMZ? I think
that's their stock ticker.
Yeah, that'd be pretty hilarious and pretty amazing. Dylan says, okay, I see you mean chain. So if Amazon buys it, they will still refuse to play Universal movies.
No way.
Well, it would give Amazon a lot more bargaining power, because if they said, hey, Universal, you can't do this, or your movie's not going to be on our theaters or on Amazon, that's some big freaking wiener energy to be throwing around there. You can't be like, oh, guess what? Do you ever want to sell a DVD or a VOD ever in your life, ever, Universal? Sorry. And
what's the newspaper that Bezos owns? Is it New York Times or
Which one?
Jeff Bezos owns a newspaper. He owns one of the New York,
I can't remember which one,
like the
but
big New York
Are you
newspapers.
talking about Bloomberg owning Bloomberg?
No,
and Forbes owning Forbes. No, I think Amazon owns. It's maybe the Washington Post or New York Times. It's one of those things. Washington Post, yeah.
is it okay? All right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's it's weird when you start thinking about and peeling back the layers of what that would mean. It's like, sure, it's a little bit convenient to us because all right, we still get our cake and we eat it too, but at what cost? And yeah, it's it could be catastrophic for a lot of things. You don't want big companies just swooping in and picking up all this stuff, guys. Think about the future repercussions of this flashpoint that is now COVID.
Does it mean that we get Batman with a mustache? Because I'm cool with that. Because Thomas Wayne Batman is the coolest. Because he got no qualms about murking out someone with 245s. Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Dylan says Trolls War Tour made $100 million in like 2 weeks, and we have Scoob coming out on VOD. Kids movies are what's crushing it with this VOD movie. And you're right, and that's a lot of this controversy, and we talked about this in a couple episodes ago when it first happened. But kids movies right now, of course, are prime for VOD because parents are losing their freaking minds having to be around their children all the time. And just like when DVD was in every backseat of every Dodge Caravan in America, where they're like, "Shut up, we're driving. I'm going to put Shrek in the player," and they're like, "Yay!" Before every kid had a smartphone in their hand or a Switch. So this is, it's poised for that. And now that Universal has tasted that, like, shoot. But here's the thing, is that's not going to be forever because, Universal's thinking like, okay, well, it works right now because everybody's at home, everybody's impatient, everybody's trapped with these kids. There's no other alternative. And thinking that, oh, this is just going to be, is this forever? Well, no, it's not going to be forever, but to burn these bridges with the way the system works is very dangerous. Like right now in the short term, it's fine, and AMC was even fine with it. A lot of theaters were fine with it because they're like, well, we can't do anything. But
yeah, it wasn't until Universal was like, we're going to do it
forever.
Always.
And we love this money. We want it always. And then you're like, hey, no, if you come back on all these agreements and deals that are made, then you're going to be doing way more damage for this short-term money grab. Let's see. That was the start of the production code during the 50s, right? Yes, Vern, you're correct. Implying production companies malign. So this has been covered in other episodes, so I'm going to only touch on it a little bit. But like MGM Studios, and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and all these other companies, they own these theaters. And then there was a big thing back in the 50s where they had to break that up to where production companies were getting too much power with the distribution process of these movies. So if you wanted to go see an MGM movie, you had to go to an MGM theater. If you wanted to go see a Warner Brothers movie, you had to go to a Warner Brothers theater. And it wasn't competitive and it wasn't free market. And so there was a lot of legislature that was made back then to protect from that. But now everyone's like, I like having the internet, COVID. And so people are forgetting that laws happen and that there are protections in place to make sure that everybody doesn't get totally screwed by Disney, because that's who we're talking about here. We're talking about Amazon and Disney owning the rights to everything that you've ever wanted to have. And then once they have it, then they're never going to let you have it for cheap or easy. They're not going to, just like the liquor laws in Arkansas, man. Once you put them down one funnel, then you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. Mark says more money equals better movies, right? No, that is absolutely wrong.
Well, John talking about the WB theaters, you'd get the WB shorts and you'd have Big Chungus there before the movies.
Oh, Big Chungus.
Big Chungus.
Johnny says, having a kid in August, I'm currently amassing a good video collection of generic good time equivalents of public domain titles such as Aladdin and The Jungle Book to keep my kid away from Disney. I mean, that's smart. But Disney is, there are good parts of Disney. They weren't always bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm never going to Disney World. Well, you should at least go to Epcot. Epcot's pretty cool.
It is cool until they rebrand it all, each individual, like every country gets wiped out and it's just each zone of Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, because there's like 23, there'll be 23 zones. I'll be, go to Iron Man 2 world, and then go to Green Black Widow world or whatever. Mark says on Bo's talk earlier about the delay in sales tax reporting, he mentioned the lag between incidents and reporting. We're about to hit a wall with no new movies or shows coming out since all productions are likely mothballed for quarantine. The content desert is looming. You are absolutely correct. There is a danger looming, and when that hits, we're going to be starved for content. Just like our beef industry right now is having supply chain issues. And people are going to the store and you can't find ground beef. And why is that? And they're like, oh, these farmers are slaughtering cattle. It's so terrible and inhumane. It's like they don't want to do it. But guess what? Meat packing plants are closed because it's not the farmers that make your fucking hamburgers. It's about 100 steps of supply chain that make your hamburgers. And so when you get mad at the guy that's killing the cow, he's like, no, I don't want to do this. But I'm having to do this because steps B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and L, M, N, O, P are all getting screwed, and nothing is working in conjunction with one another. So when you go...
But why not just let them be alive for like another month?
Because guess what? They're contractually obligated to they're getting more and more shipments of more cattle that are coming in. And it's like, if someone was delivering to your house 100 gallons of popcorn every day, because normally you get this popcorn and you give it to these people and you got people coming and picking up your popcorn and everything's fine in popcorn land. But let's say that all the people that come and pick up your popcorn in your apartment are gone right now and they can't get that popcorn. But the popcorn's still coming, and the popcorn's still popping, and your apartment is filling to the roof with popcorn, and it's coming out of your windows like Scrooge McDuck. Like, and
why would you not use this as an opportunity to talk about real genius? If you're talking about popcorn coming out of the windows.
Okay, exactly. And it was chaos when Val Kilmer like used the popcorn to get
satellite laser,
the crusty old Dean. And but that's the problem, is that the demand is there, the supply is there, but the chain is broken. And it's important to understand.
Like Daenerys showed up and she's just like,
that's right, break those chains, and it's just whatever. But anyway, that's a whole nother. We're not talking about cattle here. We're talking. That's why I wanted to make it a popcorn thing, is because we're talking about movies, dude. And as our producer says, let the cattle folks sell the healthy ones directly to consumers. What are you going to do with a cow?
Actually, they're doing that with pork.
They're doing it with a lot of things right now.
It's not like directly, but I mean,
as close as we can get.
Yeah, like minimizes the barriers. You're talking about the break in the supply chain, but some of those are artificially made walls.
Well, because they're trying to protect, just like Disney and AMC wanting to have the keys to the kingdom. If you give the keys to everybody, then that one dude that's been benefiting off of those keys for so long, you take the power away from them. And and they're not going to let you, just like liquor laws in Arkansas, which is a very passionate subject for me.
More cronyism.
It's more cronyism because you can only get it from a few powerful people in Arkansas. It's one of the reasons that bars aren't even on the list of things to reopen in our reopen plan, except for our water park splash pads, football stadiums, movie theaters, Walmarts, and everything that has tons of people. Or we're going to open those up, but bars, no, because the Arkansas retail liquor lobby is like, hey, dude, at-home liquor sales are through the roof. We're making shitloads of money. Let's keep those bars closed for as long as we can. And anyway, that's not movies. That's a whole nother diatribe.
It would be if you tied it into cocktail or Coyote Ugly. Or
movies about bars. What's that one? Hang on, no, it's an obscure one about a bar. What is it called? Mr. Mr. Destiny. Do you remember Mr. Destiny with Michael Caine? And he's a bartender at this place, and it's it's the who's the guy in it? He's like not Randy Quaid, but Dennis Quaid. I can't remember. It seems like it was a Quaid. But anyway, he goes in there and his life's all shit. And no. Belushi. Not James Belushi. I think it was James Belushi.
Jim.
No, Jim's dead.
John is who you're
John,
thinking of.
yeah, I'm thinking of
Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi. James, one of the Belushis. Anyway, he goes into this dive bar and he's like, my life sucks. I hate everything. It's Christmas. Blah. And then Michael Caine is over here and he's like, why don't you have a little cocktail? It's a thing that I'll make. It might make you have a different perspective. And he makes this he makes this this cocktail with a secret blend of whatever, and he drinks it, and it takes him back in time. You want to talk about a time travel movie? Mr. Destiny. And he goes back in time, and he's like, man, if I had only hit that pitch in his like minor, like little league ball game, if he had hit the home run, his life would have been different. He would have married the cheerleader, and everything would have gone better for him. So this magical cocktail from Michael Caine takes him back in time, and he hits the pitch, and then he goes through his life, and everything's successful just like he thought it would, but he's unhappy. And because his actual wife from the other timeline doesn't know him, his best friend doesn't know who he is, he's in an unhappy marriage, and he thinks that it would have been better, but it turns out he's more sad, and it teaches him a life lesson about valuing the things that you have in your life. Mr.
Forget
Destiny.
that. Give me that cocktail. Yo, I'm sad right now. Hook a dude up with this tasty drink that sends me back in time to fix my life.
Mr. Destiny. Vince says, so it's Click. And,
yeah,
kind
there you
of.
go.
Yeah. But
Click.
Mr. Destiny, I haven't thought about that movie in decades. That's a good one. So there you go. All right. I don't know who John with a zero is, but what the hell are you talking about, dude?
Just leave it, bro.
Oh, man. Let's see.
Framed for murder.
Time travel movie with Nick Cage. Are you talking about the one where
We talked about it. Was the one where it was like, oh, I can see 2 minutes in the future.
I thought that was like Premonition, or we talked about that a few episodes ago, but I can't think of it right now. Merle says not a movie but a miniseries. Badlands, Texas was pretty good. Bar Murder, true. Let's see. In the credits, there's an actor named Tony Longo. His character is named Huge Guy. There's a lot of fun. If everybody stay for the credits, there's a lot of fun things in the credits if you stay and watch the credits. Knowing, yes, that was it. That was the same.
Oh, because we got into it about which of the two was the one.
Because Knowing was the one that was directed by Alexander Proyas, who I really, really like because he did Crow and Dark City, and I got looking forward so hard to seeing Knowing because I was like, yes, Proyas is back. And then I watched it, and I was like, what? Damn it. Damn
Ben's
it.
out here saying Next. No, Next was the MTV show where they were all on the bus and they'd step off and they're like, what's up? I'm 18. I pick my boogers in public and I think I'm going to get to kiss this chick. And then they like walk off the bus with their finger in their nose and they're like, ew, next.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also that Nick Cage movie.
Yeah.
Let's just make a show where we
Next.
talk about Next from MTV.
Oh, man. Or we just review old MTV shows.
Yeah.
Dude, like...
Yes.
Like Spring Break, Chilling with the Wheeze, and the Max, and Liquid
Spider-Man.
Television, and Spider-Man, and the first season of Real World and Road Rules, and the Real World Rules crossover channel, Room Raiders.
Oh, yeah. Room Raiders. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Pimp My Ride.
Pimp My Ride. Oh, dude, I heard you like subs. We're going to sub on your sub so you can thump while you thump. Dude, Exhibit. Man,
X to the Z.
old or what was the game show where you're sitting in they were in the recliners, and they made a DOS game for it where it was like a trivia show and you're sitting in recliners and it was Remote Control. That was the name of that show.
Yeah.
Remote Control. Yeah, dude. That was a Jackass, Buzzkill. Like, God, old MTV was rad. What happened? Man. All right. Well, we've hit our hour. We should probably start wrapping this up. We know there's a lot of you guys tuning in. We love.
What was this show even about?
Yeah, this show was crazy. But this is what's happening when we don't have our normal structured time.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, oh God, we're gonna get started talking about Mortal
Oh,
Kombat.
yeah.
Revenge,
Let's hold on.
Look at
Let's
this.
talk about Mortal Kombat real quick. How the new Mortal Kombat 11 DLC brings in Kari Hiroyuki's
The model.
the character model for Shang Tsung, so you can be Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat the motion picture,
He is Shang Tsung.
and you get to play as RoboCop.
That's pretty dope.
So in the past Mortal Kombat games here recently, you've got to play as Ninja Turtles.
But isn't
you've
Jax pretty much a RoboCop already?
No,
not even
Jax
close.
is just a dude with metal arms.
I thought he
that
was a
cop.
cop. I thought he was a-
Whoa, let's not discount, Jackson Briggs there. But yeah, he's definitely.
But isn't he a cop?
Yeah.
Well, he's a military.
with robot arms.
He was Sonya Blade's like friend.
Who was that? Like,
he's a major.
who was that
lieutenant.
fat blonde dude with the nightstick? Was it like Stryker?
He wasn't fat.
He
but
had a belly.
He had like the French cop
he was
uniform
the
on.
stupidest one.
Well, actually, they redeem him in the Mortal Kombat 10, like in the reboot, basically.
Because
he's actually not fat in there. He's pretty. He's pretty
jacked. Well,
He's
we
pretty
shouldn't be
jacked.
fat shaming on Stryker
Yeah,
anyway,
seriously.
because let's be
Also,
body positive.
Yeah, don't fat
Damn.
shame in fighting games. Have you ever played Tekken? Talking about Bob. Bob will ruin you, bro.
Have you ever played like Mike Tyson's Punch Out?
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
a lot.
King Hippo.
No, but dude, Mortal Kombat 11, you get to be RoboCop in this one, and in the past ones, you've got to be the Turtles, Predator, Alien, and then there was also it was like Leatherface,
T-800.
Terminator,
Arnie's in there.
and then I think you get to be Jason and Leatherface. You know, so they've brought in movie characters into these newer ones, but RoboCop just seems so cool.
Well, it was doing what Soul Calibur tried to do with like the third one, where they were like, "Oh, we're bringing in
Vader and
Yoda, and bringing in some other character and Spawn and all this kind of stuff." And then Mortal
Spawn
Kombat.
was in 2 because they did Spawn, Link, and what was the Xbox
I
one?
don't remember that. I think
Oh, Master
It was Heihachi.
Oh, yeah.
You could play
yeah,
as Heihachi
yeah.
on PlayStation, Spawn on Xbox, and Link on GameCube.
and now Mortal Kombat just running with it, just be whatever.
Oh, I'm impressed. You know, I thought they were gonna fade out.
Staying strong, staying true to that brand.
Ed Boon, baby.
Noob Saibot wins.
Noob Saibot's just a zombie Sub-Zero. So.
He's the OG Sub-Zero.
Nerds. All right.
Oh, China Ninja
Dude, the
Warrior.
MK lore
With
is,
a heart
is
so
tight, man.
cold.
Well, our producer here
There's the
is
song for you.
huge into MK, so if you want to like derail a whole episode for another hour and a half,
I don't
then
even play MK anymore. I just still follow the story.
just the lore.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say, come for the gore, stay for the lore. Mortal Kombat.
There you go. Well, shout out to Vern. He says, love you guys. Hashtag freak out. Love you too, Vern. Johnny, thanks for tuning in. Toasty. Thanks, Dylan. Everybody tuning in. Vince, we'll see you guys next time. Catch us on these things. Facebook, youtube.com/the Driving Speakerbox. I'm the boom operator.
The grip.
See you next week.